All right, church, confession time. Have you ever picked up your phone for a specific reason, and next thing you know, you're just answering notifications, you're scrolling around, completely forgot what you were looking for, right? Okay, Corinne's with me. I knew I wasn't alone. You know, I pick up my phone, or I go into a room, and suddenly I'm just like, okay, I know I'm looking for something, and I feel that. It's like that tip of your tongue, like that vague ache. I just feel it profoundly, but I have no idea what I'm looking for, right? And I get frustrated, and I'm like, okay, now I got to find something to distract myself until I try to remember what it was that I forgot. But that confused feeling, that doesn't just happen when we get lost in our phones or we forget why we walked into a room. It happens in the broad strokes of our lives as well, right? We find ourselves standing in the middle of our lives, chasing a feeling, a need, a desire. But do we ever stop to wonder what it is that we're really looking for? You know, rest assured, this is not a message about your phones. So teens, you can breathe a sigh of relief. Right? This is about the restlessness in our hearts. There's a medical term for someone who loses an arm or a leg and then they still feel an itch or a sensation there. It's called phantom limb. It would seem that the human heart, that as humans, we have a longing for something that we're missing. A phantom part of our heart, if you will, that we want to fill, or some need that we try to meet. We were created for a world where we feel fully known and yet fully loved. A place where we experience lasting peace and lasting joy. Right? On the first few pages of the Bible, we actually read about a world like that. Genesis 2 and 3, Adam and Eve, they're in the perfect world. In the Garden of Eden, where God provided for every need and there was no death. They had the good life. No shame, no jealousy, no need to put on a show for everybody else. Genesis 2:15 says that God put the man in this garden and he walked with them like a friend. That he gave them a fulfilling purpose for their lives. And then he gave them access to everything that he had, except one thing he knew that they weren't quite ready for yet. He says, you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because if you eat from that, you're surely going to die. But one day, the woman, she sees the fruit of the tree, and it looked good for eating. It was pleasing to the eye, and she also saw somehow that it was desirable for gaining wisdom. And so she took some, and she also gave it to her husband, who was right there with her, and he ate it too. And the perfect world just spirals from there. They felt shame, they felt lonely. Division had come between them. Division had come between them and God. We learned from Adam and Eve that not all things that look good to our eyes are good for us. They felt all this. And though we might think we know best, sometimes our view of God and the life that he offers us, it can get distorted. It no longer even looks like the good life. We forget our purpose. We get distracted by the next thing that catches our eye. Adam and Eve, they were the original restless searchers. Right? They were walking in the garden one day and, what am I doing here again? Oh, look at that. Right? We all experience this same cancerous restlessness. We do. We all want progress and belonging and meaning, and those are good things that God put there in us to draw us into real relationships with him and with community. But then they become hijacked when we allow ourselves to just settle for the next dopamine hit, or we lower the bar of our hope and we accept a life that is, we know it could be better, we just don't know how. And why is this restlessness a cancer? The truth is, we often turn to sin. Sin is just any act that distances and harms your relationship between God, other people, even yourself. Jesus taught that sin always leads to death. The death of our innocence, the death of relationships, the death of ourselves, spiritual death, eternal death. So how do we try to scratch that phantom itch? We seek lasting satisfaction in things that look appealing. They look like life, but then they pass away. And then we experience discontentment and frustration and that unfulfilled longing, like, what am I doing here? For some of us, it's the glance. That lustful look at a screen or at somebody passing by. Maybe it's more than a glance. We think we're looking for fun or intimacy, but we're just actually, if we really think about it, we're adding to our discontentment. We're looking for a connection. We're looking for affirmation. We're looking for joy in a place that we're never going to find it. For some of us, it's the comparison. We look at the perfect lives of other people and we think, man, if I just had that house, that car, that family, that would be the good life. That vacation, we fantasize of a life different than our own. The one that we actually have, and we end up resenting the blessings that God has already put into our hands. For some of us, it's the control. We think that if I just work hard enough, if I just save enough, if I just worry enough, if I do the good and the righteous things, and I just do that enough, that I can earn my way, I can prevent anything bad from happening. We look for peace in our own strength, but all of that comes up empty. Adam and Eve, they saw something pretty. They put a desire for knowledge above their relationship with God. We ask a spouse or our kids or our career to provide a level of fulfillment that only the Creator can provide. Sometimes we take a good thing, a blessing that God has given us, and we promote that to a place above God. How many of us have convinced ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, that the key to joy and meaning in your life is securing that next job promotion, or a good party on the weekend, or that dream relationship? You fill in the blank. We've been sold a lie if we believe that the good life is something that we can manufacture. And I want to believe the lie sometimes. I want to believe that I can do it all on my own, that I can do it by myself, that I can make the outcomes the way that I want, that I can be perfect on my own. But then when I fail, I get angry. I feel shame. It drives me to selfishness and anxiety, and I'm searching for happiness in all the wrong places. I've tried all of the above. Maybe you have too. And yet we feel empty when we turn to those things, because we are asking things that are passing away to meet a need that lasts forever. Maybe that's right where you are this afternoon. If that's so, I hope that this journey through the tomb of Jesus will lead you to see where the good life can really be found. So what is the story of Easter? And happy Easter, by the way. It's glad to have you guys here. We got a nice little spread, and it's been a great service. Man, this worship has just been amazing. Kristen was talking about how she's cried. I feel like I've already cried. That's not normal for me on a Sunday service, but... So Jesus went from town to town. He's calling people to a radical new way of life. He's inverting conventional values of his time, and even our time. He's flipping the dark side of the structures of society right side up. He's proclaiming a new kingdom where the hopeless were helped, where enemies forgive each other and love each other, and where the powerful serve the weak. And to those in authority in Jesus' day, and in our day too, this message is a threat to power. They tracked him down. They handed him over to the political authorities so that he could be executed by crucifixion, the most public and humiliating death that the Roman Empire had ever conceived. And then he was abandoned by his followers. He was mocked. He was stripped. He was humiliated. He was beaten. He was abused. And then he was left to die hanging on this cross above the crowds. We see that in Luke 23. It was about noon, and darkness came over the whole land, for the sun stopped shining. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two, and Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And when he said this, he breathed his last. Everyone that had followed Jesus, they thought it was over. We see that. For the people who had followed Jesus, this wasn't just a sad event. This was the death of their last hopes. The best life that anyone had ever found, apparently it just couldn't truly last. Jesus had died on a Friday afternoon because because the Sabbath was a Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath, those who wanted to care for Jesus' body that weekend, they had to wait until Sunday morning. The only people that Sunday morning with the intent to go and care for Jesus' body and show him honor were three of his loyal followers, and they were women who had supported his ministry. Like, okay, sorry guys. I mean, I guess I'd be hiding too. Like, they got Jesus, okay, maybe I'm next, right? So these women, they brought these incredibly valuable spices and perfumes, and in those times, that was going to show just an incredible amount of honor. So imagine being there for just a moment. I want you to think about that and put yourselves in their sandals for a second as you walk to the tomb. That mood is somber. You barely even talked as you got up that morning. You probably just cried all weekend. And you're no longer hearing the cheerful banter of the crowds that followed Jesus. You didn't even get to hear the bickering of the disciples arguing who's best. Everybody's gone. With each silent step to the tomb, another whiff of those spices, they waft up from the pouch. And that's reminding you that your teacher, your leader, the one who you thought was your Savior, God's Son, the one who said that he could lead you into the good life everlasting, he is dead. And as you approach that graveyard, you don't even know how you're going to get into the tomb. There's a big, heavy boulder stone rolled in front of it, and there's guards stationed outside. You just hope that those guards have mercy on you, and maybe they roll it away for you. Because nobody else even has the courage to be seen about. And we pick up there in Luke 24, on the first day of the week. Very early in the morning, the women took those spices that they had prepared, and they went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away. But when they entered, the body of Lord Jesus wasn't there. And while they're wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning, imagine that, that's weird enough, and then they stand there, and the women are so frightened, they bow with their faces to the ground, and then the men say to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead?" I don't even know what I'd be thinking in that moment. They're saying Jesus wasn't in the grave. Wait, Jesus wasn't in the grave? If you read the Gospels, you see that multiple times Jesus says exactly what's going to happen. He told them even how many days he'd be gone. They just simply weren't listening with eyes that see and ears that hear what he was trying to tell them. Because they were living in a world where the ultimate power in your life was the government, the governors, the authorities, the ones who controlled the swords. They were living in a world where if you want the good life, you got to go get it for yourself, even at other people's expense. They were even living in a world where dead people stay dead. But thank God that Jesus isn't confined by the little worlds that we build around ourselves. Why do you look for the living among the dead? This is a pivotal question, not just for this story, but this is a pivotal question for our lives as well. It makes us consider, are we looking for hope or fulfillment or life in an empty grave? It reminds us to seek the risen Christ rather than dwelling on things that lead to death. This question contrasts our expectations in the world that we live in where dead men stay dead with the reality of the resurrection, that Jesus Christ cannot even be contained by death. Only because of the resurrection do our lives of striving and struggle transform from a tragedy into a victory. Because for 3 days, it looked like he had lost. And because of that, he gave us the ultimate victory. The angels, they're there reminding the believers that Jesus is not contained by a tomb. He is alive. He is out there. He is providing hope. He is providing transformation. He is providing victory over death. And if you want life, you too have to stop looking in the graveyard. Jesus isn't in the grave. He's not even in the graveyard. The source of life is not in the grave, and if you want the amazing life that he offers, you can't go looking there. This changes everything. What graveyards are you searching for life? In what ways do you search for life in places you're never going to find it? Where do you look for life among the dead? Where are you looking for identity or security or joy in things that have no power to sustain you? Because when we search those empty places trying to find what will fulfill us, we always turn up empty and worse off than we were before. And it's not Jesus plus something else either. Right? Only Jesus can give you what will truly satisfy you. And the good news is, that's exactly what he offers. Jesus offers us life. Jesus offers us a life to the fullest. And though we all benefit from the kingdom, we experience the best of what God offers us when we are raised to our new life with him, just as Jesus showed us. The angels continue in Luke 24. They say, he's not here, he's risen. Remember how he told you? Well, he was still with you in Galilee. The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinners and then be crucified and then raised again on the third day. Then they remembered his words. When things are confusing and broken in your life, what do you remember? Do you know the truths of the Bible? Do you know the promises of God? Man, I wish I could say that that's always where my mind goes. I'm a minister, and to my shame, sometimes it takes me way too long to remember why I walked into a room. Right? My thoughts easily just wander into despair and distraction, but thank God he's patient and he helps us grow. The women, they came back from the tomb. They told all these things to the men who had been closest to Jesus. But in that time and a place, a woman's testimony wasn't even valid in court. This was something that Jesus had been turning upside down, but his followers, they're already slipping back into their old ways. But that's not even the biggest problem here. The men didn't even believe the woman because their words seemed to them like nonsense. Dead people stay dead. Maybe you've bought into the lie that you're the only one who can define for you what's true. If that's you, I implore you to be open to this passage. A heart closed off to God, the resurrection is going to sound like nonsense. But to a humble, seeking person, it rings true of hope, doesn't it? Peter felt that glimmer of hope. His heart was curious. He ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying by themselves, and then he went away just wondering, what in the world is going on here? Are you like Peter? Are you standing in a tomb, confused, picking up the pieces, wondering how in the world did things get to this place that they are in your life? God's not confused. Even the things that we struggle to understand the most, the hardest things in our life, God will use in your story. And he can take even the horror and the tortures of crucifixion of the only innocent person who's ever lived, and he can flip that on its head to accomplish his plans. Did you notice that Peter, he's looking at these strips of linen. He had to bend down because they're on the ground. Jesus discarded that. He didn't need the grave clothes anymore, and neither do you. Once we've been looking in the wrong places and we see that, it's not about trying harder. It's about looking higher. We got to seek, embrace, and encounter. Seek life. If you're here today and you don't quite know where you stand with God, this is for you. You feel that phantom itch just as much as anybody else does. You've tried to scratch it with all the things that this world offers, and you found that those things just don't do. And we're all tempted to think, okay, maybe I'm happy enough now. Maybe this is just how life is. It's got to be this way. But I have to ask, how long is that happiness going to last? And what is it costing you? The good life found in the graveyard, that always leaves a trail of brokenness behind it. But the life of Jesus, it doesn't end in a cost. It ends in a harvest. That investment that you put in of seeking today, that leads to a life of fulfillment as God creates and transforms you into the person that you are meant to be. My challenge to you is simple. Stop looking in an empty grave. If the resurrection is true, it is the most important fact in human history. But don't take my word for it, although I wouldn't mind if you did. But go seek the evidence. Look into it for yourself. You'll find, as I did and as many of us did, that it is more work to dismiss the resurrection than it is to actually believe in it. Don't let that be your excuse. Pick up a Bible this week and read the book of Luke. Join a community of people who are trying to live this out, doing our best. We meet here every Sunday. There's a few of us that are normal. We have coffee. Yeah. If you're tired of the graveyard, come find life. And embrace transformation. Okay, maybe you've been a Christian for years and you're thinking, okay, I know I'm forgiven. I hope I'm forgiven. I think I'm forgiven. Honestly, if I'm honest with myself, I don't feel changed. Okay, so you've slipped back into the same cycles of anxiety, comparison, secret sin, whatever it is for you. When we turn back to the graveyard, it might be a setback for us. It's not a setback for God. He still loves you. He still desires to be with you. And he wants to fulfill that longing. He wants to fill your heart with joy, the thing that you've been searching for, only he's got the real stuff. Right? God doesn't want you to just change your patterns. He wants to transform your desires. Transformation, it means admitting that I can't do it on my own. Right? It means that on Tuesday, when you're feeling that pull to go back to the graveyard, to comfort your longings, fold your hands in prayer and go to God and say, Father, I can't do this on my own. I know where this grave leads, and I need you to lead me to life. It's not about trying harder. It's about living from a different source of power. We got to encounter Jesus, and that's right where that happens. No matter who you are, it's not about a philosophy. It's not about a moral code. It's about an encounter with the living, risen Jesus. And you can have all the facts in your head and still have a cold heart. An encounter happens when you allow God to meet those desires and you turn to him when you feel your heart start to get restless. Now imagine yourself. Imagine yourself sometime in the future, not too long from now though. Picture your life, the place where right now you only find hopelessness, despair, lack of peace, discontentment, whatever that ache is for you. Now imagine you are a different person in that area, completely transformed all around. You have been made whole in a way that right now you don't even dare to dream about. You're content, you're joyful, you're vibrant. What happened in that gap between who you are now and who God turned you into? The resurrection power of Jesus is what happened. If God can bring Jesus back from the dead, he can surely transform you. He restores our hope, he fulfills our longing, and he leads us to the good life, and that can start today. Are you going to let him? This life isn't just possible, it's completely satisfying. Many of us, we have spent our whole lives trying to find that phantom limb of Eden. We've looked in the graveyards of our own making, the selfishness, the comparison, that sin, the scrolling through life. You weren't made to live with a phantom ache for a lost home. You were made to live in the presence of the living God. And if you want the good life, you got to stop looking in things that are passing away. The resurrection of Jesus, that's just the beginning of the return to Eden. Jesus isn't just some dead guy who started breathing again. He is the first of the new creation, the new Adam. He is leading the way to refreshment for our thirsty souls. So we got to seek Jesus, find his community, and learn together what he really says about how to find the good life. Embrace the transformation. Let God work on your heart. And when he flips your world over, you're finally going to see everything right side up. So encounter Jesus today. Encounter him tomorrow, and that's where you're going to find true life in his presence. The good life today and the everlasting life tomorrow. So next time you go into a room and you can't remember why you came there, just remember you are a child of God. Jesus died for you already while you were still slaves to sin. But God has chosen you, he is for you, and he wants you to make the choice to go and find your fulfillment in him. Decide today. Seek life. Embrace transformation and encounter Jesus. Amen, church.